Hi, everyone. Welcome to Freedom Friday. And today, Tony is going to talk about quantum energy. And yeah, that should be really exciting because quantum energy is something that's was introduced. Well, it's been introduced thousands of years ago, but it was introduced by physicists as a completely, and that completely disrupted the Newtonian mechanistic view of the world. So that was the beginning of last century, I think. And even though it disrupted our whole worldview, interestingly enough, the scientific community didn't really adopt it, right? The you look at the medical system, it's still very mechanistic. You look at all sorts of areas, they're still focusing on the mechanistic Newtonian worldview. And I think wasn't it Buckminster Fuller who said that if we want to really solve our problems in the world, we have to um, move on to the next level. And so, I think that, and probably Tony thinks as well, that the quantum view of the world was actually the next level. It was the level over the physical mechanical view. So anyway, Tony, go ahead and tell us more about quantum energy.
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. Yeah, exactly. Quantum energy is well, it's really all about energy, and I'll first I'll just get my screen up and share my screen. Okay, you see that all right, Gerald?
Yep, I'll just pop that up. Yep.
Yeah. So what is quantum energy and why is it important? More than important, it's actually vital. It's vital because it's what sustains us for a start. It's where we are. It's what we are. It's why we are. It basically answers all the questions of life, um, and it's about following the natural universal laws, not the man-made laws for 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 real life freedom. That's really what it's all about. It's about freedom on every level. And as Gerald was saying, the traditional science focuses on the quantum mechanics or the physicality of physics. But physics is all about energy and understanding how energy works. So just to purely focus on the materialistic side of it is missing out the most important part, because it's the quantum energy that creates the physical reality in the first place. So uh, we might as well look at the source. So to get a bit more of a detail on it, what does quantum mean? The definition of quantum is basically the smallest quantity of radiant energy equal to Planck's constant time. Equal to Planck's constant times the frequency of the associated radiation. So basically, it's just the study of very, very tiny matter and how it's all connected to what they call radiant energy, which is electromagnetics, it's light, it's frequency, vibration, all of that. So Planck was he was a very famous scientist who actually stumbled upon the quantum field. He was very, very close to it, but since him, nothing much has really been done since. And he discovered this in 1906 or something. Of course, they just kind of pretty much swept it aside. But anyway, the cat's out of the bag. So, and what Planck also discovered was that photons, which photons is really just a tiny, it's a bundle of energy or a bundle of light. It's a bundle of light energy. It is not necessarily a continuous wave. So numerous physicists were referring to this bundle of energy as quanta. So quanta meaning it's the plural of quantum. So it's really the study of this is the study of energy. It's the study of light, and in all its forms, which I'll go into. So then, before we go into this, we've got to look at a little bit of the physicality or the atom, so that we can get a context for what we're discussing here. So, an atom is just a tiny, tiny particle, basically, and it's made up of these rings, which the electrons are moving around. A nucleus, which is made up of protons. So protons sit in the middle, and then a negatively charged electron is spinning around the outside in these sort of planes, if you like. These different circles are different planes of a different, slightly different dimension, actually. And you'll see that the protons are positively charged and the electrons are negatively charged. And this sets up the electromagnetism. This sets up this is how we get electricity, through positive and negative. So this is just a very basic thing that we were taught at school, most of us. And so then we're going to also look at the torus. The torus is how energy moves. It's literally coming from dark to light. So it's important to know that all light comes from the dark, from nothingness or the darkness. What's also called dielectric, as opposed to electric. So dielectrics and electrics. And the darkness, if you like, is in the very, very center. It's actually coming from the field of quantum field, and it revolves around in these circular motions. And you see this is a diagram here with like a person in there. We all have a torus around us. Everything has a torus around it. Every atom is like a torus. So from the smallest particles to the biggest, the whole universe is like a giant torus. So as above, so below, as within, so without. And in the micronism is that you can find a blueprint of the macronism. When we're talking about energy and quantum, we've got to do a quick reference to geometry. So geometry is the blueprint interface with different forms and energies. So different material things will have different shapes, and there are 5 basic shapes in that make up all all of the material physical things. They're also known as the 5 Platonic solids, and after Plato. And this here is it's called the Metatron's cube, and Metatron's cube contains all 5 of those together. It's a very, very special shape, and this is really a depiction of pure energy in its ultimate form. So it's good to get a physical representation of it, so you can actually see what I'm talking about. Now, light is both a particle, in other words, the photon, and it also exhibits properties as a wave. What we are mainly interested in and concerned with is the wave form of light. And it's this wave that is what electromagnetism is. Electromagnetism, everything that powers the universe, powers us, is electromagnetic, and it is in its pure form, it's electromagnetic. As an inert matter, it does appear to be a particle. So all matter is also light. All light, it permeates all things. So matter is just simply a lower frequency of light. That's all it is. Doesn't matter whether it's an inanimate object or a living object. It's just that the living objects have more energy, if you like. So now we're going to get into a bit of the more of the meat of it. So what is collapsing the waveform? So when we're in a lower frequency, as I was saying before, everything appears as a particle or solid matter. If you're resonating at a lower frequency, that's how the world will appear. And the material scientists are coming from that space as well. But as we raise our own vibration and frequency, we begin to naturally align with the nature of reality, and that is the waveform of energy. If you look at the ocean, perfect example is the waves on an ocean. They are moving in unison with the energy, the underlying wave energy that's underlying it. So how we observe the world is what dictates how the world shows up for us. So this is a pure scientific law. It's a very basic law, but this is how it works. So this is why we get into disagreements with people, because everyone's observing the world differently. This is how we can get different. There's different levels of frequency. There's different levels of energy, and there's different levels of thought. And it's just that unless we're on the same wavelength, as the word goes, it's called wavelength, then we will be able to relate with those others on our wavelength. If they're not on our wavelength, in other words, they're in a lower frequency, then they won't understand. They won't understand what you're saying. Our thoughts and emotions are our primary means of interaction with the world of energy and its quantum nature. So our thoughts and emotions are very, very important in this, because we can essentially direct energy. We can receive energy. We can transmit energy. And this is what's happening. And we're transmitting them into the field, the quantum field. And we're receiving our thoughts from the quantum field. They're not coming from your brain. They're coming from in the field. Everything is connected. We're all like in a giant, a kind of like a giant energetic brain, if you like. And if you magnified it right out, we're like living inside a huge hologram. So that's kind, and everything is connected. Everyone is connected to everyone in some way. Every plant, every tree, everything is all connected via this energetic quantum field. Our focus and attention is what converts light energy into matter. I mean, that is a huge statement in itself, but that's essentially what we're doing. Our thoughts, our focused thoughts is like a quanta of light, and the more that we focus on that thing or on that vision that you have, it's how it will eventually convert it into a physical reality. So where our attention goes, energy flows. It's all about our focus and attention and our intention as well. The seed is the intention, but the attention is like that's the nurturing of our original intentions. And our focus is like a laser. It's literally like a laser that can basically help to create what we're focused on. So when we talk about light, it's not just physical light. The actual physical light that we see is just a tiny, tiny slither of the whole radiant light. There's this tiny little bit in the middle here where the light bulb is. That's our full spectrum that we see. That's our visible spectrum, and it will show up as the 7 main colors. When light is refracted, it will show up as the colors like a rainbow. But outside of that, there's all this other there's all this other energy as well. So on the very high frequency, right up at the top end, you've got gamma rays, which are very, very fast, very, very high frequency. And then you've got X-rays. Then you've got ultraviolet light, which is just above our physical light. And then immediately below us, we've got infrared, which is getting slower waves, or you could say lower, but more like slower. You see depicted by the wave pattern. And then you've got microwaves and then radio waves. So we are receiving information, we are receiving energy on this whole spectrum of light. And here it is actually measured as wavelength. So when I say we're on each other's wavelength, it's literally true. It's not just a metaphor. And then you can see here the energy. So this is measured in nanometers. So somewhere in here, in different aspects, in different stages of the scale, in different parts of the scale, we can have very harmful energies as well, like the 60 gigahertz frequency. In other words, 5G, when it's cranked right up, that is not a good beneficial energy. So there can be that is man-induced, and being subjected to that kind of frequency full time is very, very bad for our health. So the quantum field theory. I've kind of already touched on it, but basically, if you can imagine, it's like a matrix, if you like. It's a matrix of energy, not like our physical matrix, not like our system matrix, but it is a type of matrix. And if you imagine each one of these dots here as a person or anything in nature, and then all the energies are all interrelated with each other. So it's all there. It's just a matter of us being able to be conscious, raise our consciousness to be able to receive energy and to give energy in kind. So energy cannot be created. Energy is already created, and it cannot be destroyed. Only transformed within the field. So energy can be moved, it can be transformed, it can, but it cannot ever be destroyed, and it's already, everything's already been created. They say also it's the same with um, everything in the entire universe. It always has been. It's always been here. It's just simply expanding. But whenever something is, whenever energy is moved, whenever it's transformed, it means that it's giving up its charge. It might be giving up charge for another charge. It's been basically electrons are always gaining and losing electrons. So this is the basis of how energy gets transformed. At the quantum level, it is being the polarity of it, the charge is either increased or decreased, and then this is what transforms energy. So space-time. So what is space-time? Well, time and space are basically one and the same thing. They're completely interchangeable. They're both interrelated intricately to each other. Time is measured as movement through space, just as the Earth is moving through space, and therefore we are also moving through space, and this is how we get time. But when you're moving through space, you're obviously moving through time. So that's how they are linked, and they measure time in big time as light years. So it's interesting that they use the term light years to measure distance and time in the same basic breath. So and time, like space, is curved. So if you they've done experiments where things if you're moving through time, you will be moving in a curved pattern. And Einstein did experiments with this where he proved that time is curved. And so think of a circle as well. Think of the torus in that sort of pattern, that curved pattern, and then you start to see that that's absolutely a logical explanation. So and the speed of light is actually, technically, it's not a speed of light. It's actually it's a measure of its vibrational rate. It's a measure of its frequency. It's not a speed as we know it. And so to raise your vibration, and then you can travel. You could travel in the field. There's also the term the quantum leap, that if you raise your vibration sufficiently, you can literally leap into other times and into other dimensions. And the Earth itself and us are going through a quantum leap. We're at the beginnings of a quantum leap process. And you remember that diagram that I gave with the this one? Think of these electrons, and they can leap into the other plane. That's sort of what they do. But generally, as they get closer to the nucleus, they vibrate faster. So that's us too. We're getting closer to what they call the singularity. You get as we go within, that's where the secret is, and the electrons are doing their best to get close to the actual protons. So that's how that that's another uh, portrayal of that. So past, present, and future therefore exist simultaneously. Every time, everything in the past, the present, and the future all is existing simultaneously. I know that's a bit hard to get your head around, but think of it like we're all in one big, huge bubble, and everything that is past is just simply not in our focus right now. But it's kind of happened, but it's also still happening in a way, but it's just out of our sight. So, and whereas the future to us now, it hasn't happened, but we're creating the future with our thoughts all the time. That's what happens when our imagination, when we're thinking thoughts all the time, they're going into the field, and that is creating the future. And this is why we've got to get into the present, because the present is where it all happens. So time travel is now fully accepted. So we can travel through time. It's just a matter of switching on that gene. Basically, it's all related to our DNA as well. Our DNA, which is our biophotonic light code for our body. And the mandala effect is an absolute real thing. People are experiencing this more and more. And what is the mandala effect? Well, the mandala effect comes from Nelson Mandela, where there are a lot of people on this planet that believe quite adamantly that Mandela died in prison. And then there's a lot of other people that say, no, he didn't die in prison. He went on to be Prime Minister or President of South Africa. What are you talking about? But there are a lot of people that swear that Mandela died before he became president in prison. So this is what is this? This is, I believe, this is explaining what is happening with time jumping, and my experience is also my own verifiable proof. I've had a number of experiences where I have been taken out of my body and into another time. I've experienced times I've lived in the past in a spontaneous way, very, very strange and unusual, but it happened. And also, there's a little quick story I'll tell you about me and Jenny, my partner Jenny. We had an experience one night where we were asleep in bed, and Jenny woke up to the sound of all these sirens, police sirens, very, very loud. They sounded like they were encircling our house, which is a bit unusual because we're on a lifestyle block. We're out in the edge of the countryside. There are no roads close to us. The closest road is probably 500 meters away, and it's only a country road. And she woke me up and said, "Gotta wake up! Check out these sirens." And I woke up, and it was it was literally like a symphony of sirens. It was so incredible, and I thought, well, what's going on, And I went out of our room and I went into our bathroom to because I saw this. I was attracted to this light that was coming out the door, and I went into our bathroom and I literally saw these lights shining into our bathroom window, which is absolutely impossible because there's a very big bank and there's a whole lot of bush, and it's just there's no road outside our window. I can assure you, it's a good 500 meters away. And because we are a little bit set down in a valley, there is absolutely no way any light could shine in there. And I heard very audibly, it sounded like a policeman screaming at someone to get down or they're going to get shot. Um, and I heard the sound, I heard the voices very, very loud. It sounded like the police car was literally outside our window. And then when I went back into the room with Jenny and the sirens, and then all of a sudden, boom, it just disappeared. It went off. And for a long time, I wondered about what had happened. It was just so bizarre. And the more I've studied in this, I know now what happened. We both went into another reality, another kind of dimension, another time. I think it was another time. We were experiencing something that had happened from our bedroom. And so that is my own personal experience. I could never forget it. And I've had quite a few other experiences like this as well. This is not the only one. In my awakening many years ago, when I was really awakening, I had a lot of crazy things happen. And a lot of it was in my sleep too. When I'd wake up to being in the universe. I literally had a dream where I was at this place, and I was told I was at the edge of the universe, and it was like a place, and there were beings there, and it was the most bizarre thing. And I've never forgotten that one as well. I could tell you a few more, but I just don't have time. So multiple dimensions are all existing here now, just the same as time. Yeah, 3D, 4D, 5D, right up to, I think the dimensions go right up to 21 or something like that. But they're all, so how do we think? A good way to think about it is is like the Russian nesting dolls, where you have a doll within a doll within a doll, and you open one up, and then there's another one inside, and then there's another one inside that, and you just keep unfolding them till there's a little tiny one in the middle. So that's kind of how you could imagine it. Uh, Everything is all here; it's all around us. It's just we don't have the energy. Our perception is not tuned, or our observation, our spidey senses are not yet tuned in to the dimensions. That's all. So it all depends on observation. Our observation and our perception dictates our reality. So yeah. So 3D. So you could liken the 3D to being, say, the outer doll. You could do it two ways. You could make it the very inner doll, but I think it's better if it's the outer doll, because that's the most gross side, and we are moving, if you like, within, and it gets more refined. Energy gets more refined as we go within. So think of the outside doll as our 3D reality, and it's the lower physical reality. This is the particle-based thinking. This is when you are in particle light rather than wave light. And this is where, when we feel very grave, when we have a grave situation, that word comes from gravity. So gravity is what pulls us down, if you like, into this material physical realm. So if we raise our frequency, then we can literally overcome gravity. Gravity is a product of the electromagnetism, and it's actually a byproduct of the whole quantum field. And it's not a separate thing. It's not this. It's not a separate thing the way it's portrayed with the whole concept of uh, the traditional science. It's all bunkum. Basically, it's all based on energy, and it's a byproduct of positive negative charge electromagnetism. That's the way I see it. So then you got 4D. So you could say that's the next dial in. This is related to the mind, the intellect. It's also the reality that artificial intelligence is working on, or the master artificial intelligence. They work on the fourth dimension, but that's I believe that that's about as far as it goes for the AI that we have. Although I have come across this thought that there is an AI, there's like a super AI being in the universe somewhere that's affecting us, and that is in up to the 11th dimension. So that's just something new that I heard. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting that there is actually an artificial intelligence super being, if you like, a kind of AI, kind of God. And some say that this is who Lucifer is, this is who Baal is. It's actually artificial intelligence. And I thought, wow, that feels like it could be true. So, yeah, I've just recently discovered that. And then you got 5D, which is the 5D is like the reality I believe we're moving to. 5D is just the next octave up from 4D. It's just like a higher frequency, a higher vibration, and is where I believe not everyone, but I believe a lot of people in this world will be moving into this reality, and we will be running parallel realities, parallel timelines. Um, so yeah, that's so now we've got to look at the sun. The sun is actually not a nuclear thing; it's a plasma ball, or it's a portal, and it is electric. It is electric plasma. That's what plasma is basically. Um, Electric. It's electromagnetic actually, and that's what plasma is really referring to. It's just referring to the electromagnetism. So the sun itself is like a massive electromagnetic pulsar of not just our light, but all kinds of frequencies on that spectrum. And I think that a solar flash is absolutely certain. It's only a matter of when. It's not if, it's when, because there are good records of previous solar flashes throughout history. You can find evidence of them, and there's been some amazing research done on this. So you could liken a CME, or a solar flare, as like a little tiny mini flash, if you like. But when a full solar flash happens, when a mini nova, they call it a nova, you have a grand nova, or you have a major nova. That's when you can get a whole galaxy can basically nova. But when our sun does a nova, it's very, very it's going to impact on our Earth hugely, and so we're going to get blasted with this high frequency plasma energy, this pure electric light. And for those that are awakening and are making the transition into 5D, I believe that will accelerate their awakening to a tremendous level, and they will become basically like enlightened. Whereas others who are resisting, who are very stuck in that particle kind of 3D reality, they are going to possibly have a completely different experience. It could be traumatic, it could kill them, but we know they're not really dead, they're just going to another place. Because our soul is like pure energy and it cannot be destroyed, and it's already been created. So just the physical body will exit, but it's part of its soul's journey that's happened. That it's not really all is happening is that we're dropping our physical body. So we are a plasma being. So when the plasma hits us from the sun, as long as we're in that resonance and that frequency and that wavelength, we will have a very incredible experience. And I believe that could be, a lot of people say it'll be this year. That's what I don't believe it'll be this year myself. It's just my opinion. I think it'll be between year 2030 and 2045. So it's not that far away. It is due, the actual date, when I've seen researchers who have really studied it, and they narrowed down the date to 2042 exactly. But there's various people now who are saying, no, it's going to be earlier than that, and it's going to be this year, it's going to be 2025, 2028. I've heard all these different years in between. And it might be. I mean, if it happens earlier, well, bring it on. But I just feel that it's not quite yet. But I believe this is why the UN and the WEF are accelerating their agenda, the climate change agenda 2030. It's all related to this and our awakening. It's trying to cut us off at the pass. They're trying to say that they can bring the temperatures down, and we have to do it by this time frame. But we know we're heading into a solar minimum. We're in a solar maximum at the moment, and the minimum is due to come in around 2028, 2029, and which is actually a little bit early because it was originally predicted to come in 2030. But now they're saying it looks like it's going to come a bit early, and then that's going to bring the temperatures back down a little bit, a degree or so, or whatever it is. And it's going to be a much cooler planet for quite a few decades. And then the WEF can say, oh, look, we did it, and we brought the bloody temperatures down, and we are God and all of that. So they just know all this stuff. They know all the cycles, and they're just trying to act like they're God. And that's we've just got to not buy that rubbish. So what is the singularity? Well, there's actually two singularities at play here. But basically, a way I see it, the singularity is like infinity or oneness. In a spiritual sense, it is the absolute realization of oneness in spirit, oneness with other people. And this is a quantum term. And this is the real singularity that I believe we're moving to. This will probably take hundreds of millions of years to fully reach this as a planet-wide or a solar system-wide event. but we will have smaller versions of it, if you like going into 5D. We will feel like we're experiencing oneness, and that will be a type of singularity in itself. But things are playing out on many, many levels. But there is also an artificial created singularity in play. The AI is all about creating a singularity where they're basically reducing us to a common denominator, where the cabal are basically wanting to centralize everything so much that it's an artificial centralized singularity where we're all having to sing to the same tune. We're all going to be linked up by artificial intelligence through our computers and our devices. Everything will be on digital. Everything will be digital. That's what they want in their world. I'm not saying that this is what will happen. I'm just saying this is their plans. So it's an artificial versus natural, organic, spiritual evolution. So it's the dualities playing out. It's the polarities again of artificiality versus natural. So in keeping with the laws of polarity on Earth, both must play out. So this is what's causing a lot of the pain on Earth, because a lot of people are sliding into the artificial timeline. That's a timeline, and they're getting pulled into it. But there's others that are aware of it and they're not buying it, and they're going into the natural kind of polarity. But we have to balance the two up. This is the light and dark at play, and we have to balance that with our basically with our energy, with our mind, and with our heart as well. So if there wasn't any polarity, we would have no freedom of choice. So there has to be polarity for freedom of choice, and there has to be polarity for growth. So this is why we have to experience pain and trauma and all these other things. A train, there's another analogy that I use these days, is a train needs two tracks to run. So you've got the two tracks, and then you've got the train. The train is like the third principle. And so we can be like that. We can be the train running on the tracks, but we don't have to get caught up on one track or the other. We need to ensure we're doing we're going in the right direction on the right timeline. Yeah, all tracks lead to home. Eventually, if people get lost, if they get, if they suffer so much that they end up leaving this planet, or they their job is done, eventually they will find their way home as well, because the soul cannot be destroyed. The spirit cannot be destroyed. So the future of life is based on energy. I know we have our physical reality, and that seems like that seems primary to us. But we've got to look to under the surface of the physicality, and we've got to look to energy as our real foundation and then as our go-to. So we have to think in terms of energy, not materiality. And with energy, then we have the power to heal ourselves and others through intention alone. There is a type of healing that a guy who's now passed many years ago, he devised a type of healing called intentional healing, and it was really quite amazing. And he was tapping into it in a very profound way, and so he was way ahead of his time. We can manifest our heart's desire. When we're coming from energy, there's nothing we can't manifest, particularly if it's our heart's desire. If it's not our heart's desire, then we will manifest something that's not maybe our best interests, but it's obviously more going to be for learning. But ultimately, we want to manifest from our heart and our mind, not just from our personal wants, our ego wants. With energy, we ourselves can transform that energy. We can be the conduit to transform energy, and that's primarily in ourself. That's what we're here to transmute as well, and transcend the physicality. So we can also, with energy, we can shift timelines. Once we start to wake up, we can literally start to move into a new timeline. And with moving into a new timeline, we're going to start moving dimensions as well. So we can time travel, like I said. You can do it in lucid dreaming. You can do it. You can do it through astral travel. These are simple ways that you can do it, relatively simple, or you can even do it in your meditation. But I believe the time will come where we can do it spontaneously, at will. We can teleport, which is really kind of much the same, except teleport is literally where you take your physical body and you teleport your physical body into another time. Whereas time travel is usually done in your energy body. We can align with the quantum field of energy, this is what we're really here to do. As we align more with the field of energy, then we will be guided to where we need to be. We'll always be in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and we will be infused with a great deal of energy. And what we can do is we can also harness energy for ourselves. We can literally tap into the energy. We can harness it for our healing. We have the power to do that. It's just a matter of knowing how. And one of those hows is by exploring nature, both our inner nature and the external nature, which is provided as a kind of like a doorway for us to harmonize with. So the only time is now. The only time worth knowing is now. That's why they call the present moment a present, because it truly is and it is our entry point to the 0 point energy. 0 point is it's like a energy where there's absolute, it's like the nothingness, and within the nothingness, within the still point of the 0 point, that's where instant healing can take place. Scalar waves create 0 point energy. Scalar waves is when you have two different waveforms that when they collide and they cancel each other out, and then it creates a 0 point energy. And this can be, there is devices now, there are technologies now. The iTerracare wand is one where it can literally create 0 point energy using scalar technology. This talk wouldn't be complete without looking at what I call the scale of consciousness, or Dr. Hawkins calls it the map of consciousness. But it is like a scale, and it shows you that different emotions are resonating at different frequencies, and this has actually been scientifically measured. So the lowest frequency that we can hold is shame, and then guilt, and then apathy, and then grief, and then fear. Interestingly, fear is there, and then desire, and then it's interesting that anger is relatively higher up in the lower, because anger is breaking out into, that is a releasing kind of energy when you catch yourself. and then there's pride, courage, and then you get to a neutrality. This is where you're just sort of everything's all good. You're just you're feeling good. It's a very balanced space to be in. And then from there you go to willingness. So that's kind of openness. It's optimism thinking, to acceptance. And this is also resonating with forgiveness. And then reason. Interesting that reasoning, this is a left brain kind of technique, a left brain action, and it's quite high up. This is where we get our meaning, understanding, wisdom. This is why we've got to bring the reasoning and logical thinking to raise our frequency. It's not just all love and light and mung beans. Then there's love, joy, peace, and then pure enlightenment. So this is the scale we want to rise up through. And as we raise our frequency into these new vibrations, the world will has to adapt and adjust accordingly to, so it will start presenting to us exactly how we're feeling. And the secret is try and maintain these kind of resonances, which is obviously not easy in today's world. So yeah, so this is that's basically the end of the presentation. I just thought I would give this as my own logo, and it is actually an element. Krypton is actually an element, so I've adopted that, and it's I love it because it's got it shows what I've been talking about. So I just happened to stumble across this when I was doing my research in my photos. So I just thought I'd put that up there just to yeah. So basically, that's the end of the presentation. It's there's a lot to that. I mean, it's a massive as subject. I it takes a lot of research and practice for me to even have the confidence to do a presentation on this. I could go into so much more detail. I tend to start with an overview first to give people a bit of a sense of it, and then as time goes on, I will be focusing on individual aspects of that and going into more detail.
So Tony, how do you how would you recommend people get started on this journey of shifting into energy awareness and yeah, and just working with that and getting to know it?
Start like I believe with things like meditation. Um, everyone's at different levels, so it depends on where you're at. But if you're starting as a complete novice and you're only just starting to come aware of the fact that we're an energy being, I would start with things like exercise, just simple exercise, the simple things: exercise, eating good food, energized food, energized water, good water, deep breathing, of all the different types of breathing, yoga, focus exercises. There's lots of books on how to improve your focus, concentration, and nature. I mean, I'll always go back to nature though because it's an easy one. Interacting with nature. I kind of do it. I'm on a lifestyle block, and I'm lucky in a way because I've got all these incredible gifts all around me, and I could just, if I go out to do the gardening, not only am I doing my gardening and I'm achieving something there, but I'm conscious of the fact that I'm working in the earth and are thinking about, well, I'll go in there with an intention to get clarity. And it's incredible how often I get the clarity. Like, bang, it'll appear, it'll literally, like I remember I talked about bundles of energy or quanta of energy, and it's literally like a package of information drops into my mind.
Mm.
I just, I don't know how it happens, but I love it. And then and I get a lot of my posts that I do and my writing. It comes in a package, and then can sit down and write, and it just all flows out. So I used to be a tree climber as a kid. I spent a lot of time in trees. I had my own garden as well. I lived virtually on the water as well. And I had a childhood where I was always interacting with either the ocean, the bush, because we lived on a lifestyle block then, or I was interacting with the earth. I was a runner. I was a sporty kind of guy. And it just made me feel good. And I knew intuitively that this is just being around nature is what I needed, because I can get quite um, hyper active if I'm not getting contact with the earth and with the ocean. If I feel really wired, I'll just go for a swim,
Mm.
and then I'd come out and I'd feel really balanced. Simple, just a simple thing like that.
Mm.
Sitting in a hot tub is also something I found really amazing. Going to the thermal pools, it's very powerful for your body and for your mind.
Mm.
Um, Doing anything that you love is also a good start. Because when you're really loving it and you block everything else out, you're just focused on that. You're focused on whatever you're doing. If it's building a model airplane, or not that I wasn't good at that, because I didn't have the patience then and the fiddliness. That wasn't my bag. But I would, I now while I focus on my writing, I focus on things that where I'm just focused on that and I'm doing that. Mandala drawing was another thing I found was really good for getting my mind stilled.
Mm.
If you're not a good meditator, get a mandala book and start coloring them in. They're really good.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's they're there right in front of us. They're the simple things that we probably have heard a million times, but we think, oh yeah, you know, yeah, I know that, I do that, yeah, whatever. Give me something meaty, give me something complex. Well, I want to get my teeth into it. But that's not how it works. We've got to start with the simple basics and work from there.
Mm. True.
So it's not rocket science, but the thing is, if we just allow ourselves to grow organically from there, eventually we will be in the rocket.
Great. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions around all that was presented today? Some good feedback.
Yep, it is deep, Rama. I agreed. It is deep, and but it's deep and it's wide, but it's also it's yeah, it's unraveling reality is deep, you know.
Mm.
And thanks, Benji. Good to see you again. And yes, AI is controlling. I believe AI is controlling a lot of people in the deep state. I believe there is artificial intelligence that is controlling people in a direct way, and then it's getting stepped down into our lives, and that's why they bringing more and more of it. But there is AI, and there's AI. There's AI that's very detrimental, and there is a positive AI when it's just doing automatic functions depends on how it's programmed and encoded. It's really an algorithm, and so you could say that there's a lot of algorithms that like robots as well. Even a robot has a very has a powerful positive um, future for us, because I think when the big reset comes and people start really waking up and we start taking charge of our planet in a unified way, um, robots could be doing some of the tasks, so we can just get on and do what we really want to do.
Mm.
Let's focus on creating, rebuilding the world and creating stuff, while you could have a little, vacuum cleaner robot, or, you could have robots that,
Yeah.
the robots building stuff now, while gives us more free time to do what we really are meant to do. But just the way it's being controlled at the moment is obviously it's not so positive for us. But it could be positive. We just have to have a bit of a mind shift. Um, Yeah, thanks to the Facebook users who have made their comments. I'm not sure who you are, but appreciate that you've come on and you listened. Um, yeah,
Cool.
so yeah, we've done presentations on the quantum financial system, this quantum computing. We're going to see a lot more things around this quantum sort of topic.
Yeah.
That's how we will roll eventually, as we grow in consciousness. Eventually, quantum to me also means exponential. When things start happening exponentially, they happen very, very quickly. And to me, that is a quantum effect. And that's what we're going to start seeing. You hear people say, oh, everything's speeding up. Well, it is. It is speeding up. That's called vibration. That's called frequency speeding up. Time seems to go faster when energies start vibrating faster.
Someone's asking where do they get the quantum financial system? That was just 2 weeks ago, I think. So have a look in the webinars.
If
Uh,
you're a member of DeFi Freedom, it's in the webinars. If you can join up as a free member, and then you can they get access to it as a free
yeah, it was
member?
one of the Freedom Friday
Yeah, yeah.
sessions. Yeah. And if you've got some time tomorrow, do join us. We are doing a presentation at the Lone Star in New Lynn. It's actually, oh, I can't put in the link here. Yeah, and we'll be talking about decentralization and crypto, and there will be two health practitioners, David Holden and Dr. Lindsay Best, highly experienced health practitioners, who'll be talking about peak peak wellness. So the topic of the day is peak wealth and wellness, and there we are doing the peak wealth, and they're doing the peak wellness. Yeah, so feel free to come along. That there is a charge at the door. If you can, I think if you go to the Facebook page, we'll actually have. Do we have the Eventbrite link on there? Well, I'll put it on anyway on our
I've
crypt.
oh
Yeah,
yeah, I've got it on my Facebook page. But
yeah,
if people want to private message me, I can just drop the link to their messenger, or to their Telegram, or whatever
yeah,
it is.
yeah.
Uh,
I
but
s-
yeah, from 1 o'clock in the afternoon through to about 6,
yeah,
we may hang around and have a few drinks at the end, maybe see how what happens.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, come along if you can. Love to see you. We're getting out and about. We like to get out and about and meet people as
Mm,
well, so we can so people can get an idea that who we are, and connect on a physical level.
mm, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, cool. Thanks everyone. Thanks, Gerald.
Yeah, thank you, Tony. And oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and we'll catch you soon, either tomorrow or next week.
yeah,
And
awesome.
have a good weekend anyway, and happy Matariki. Okay,
Yeah,
see you
yeah,
guys.
yeah. May the stars align for you.
Yes, indeed.